having to actually work directly with Chris in reviewing and transferring information. And they were not expecting the level of work that we were getting, so they were feeling as though they had to do a lot of heavy reviewing in the beginning, and there was a bit of resistance there. They didn't want to transfer their files, they just wanted to do it themselves. But I think we've worked through that over a period of time.
Can you talk a little bit more about the security issue? What were your concerns and how did you deal with it?
Well, it was a process of working backwards, because originally we thought we wanted absolute security because everybody's conscious of identity fraud and bank account fraud, you know, so we didn't want to provide any details at all, but we just couldn't work that way, so we had to.
Thank you.
So we had to discuss really what level we could actively work with, because if that security level, if you're not providing enough information, then it doesn't work. So BOSS provided us with a document that's been lodged with the Indian government to show their commitment to security. We were comfortable with that. We know the Institute of Chartered Accountants is very conscious of these issues as well, going forward with these sorts of businesses. So we ended up deciding what we would and wouldn't send, and most of the information that we have we make available to Chris. We don't make bank account details available. That's probably the main piece of information that we blank before we provide it across to the other server.
How would you compare the experience of taking on an Indian accountant as compared to taking on an Australian accountant?
It's different. I probably would have said more difficult initially. Now I wouldn't say that it is terribly difficult. We're finding the experience is getting better for us. I think it comes down to expectations. We didn't know what to expect, and Chris didn't know what to expect either. So, I mean, he'd be doing what he thought was the right thing to do, and we were getting frustrated because we wanted more, so we realised that we just had to say, well, we want more, this is what we want. So we became very specific about what our requirements were. He's met those requirements very, very well. I think it's just being very clear about what you want.
And how does Chris measure up against his Australian counterparts in terms of his knowledge, his professionalism, his productivity?
Extremely well. I've been very impressed with Chris. I mean, we have him working in the office at the moment, which has been a good experience, but he's picked up a knowledge of Australian tax in that period of time that is quite incredible, and his work, he's doing it exactly as we would expect. It's of a very high standard, so, you know, I think he's excellent.
How has your existing team reacted to having a remote accountant in Bangalore?
Initially some were a little bit negative about it.
On what basis?
I think perhaps a lot of the team members don't actually experience how difficult it is for employers in the industry to get good staff, to retain good staff, you know, the cost pressures, bottom line issues and so on. So they just, perhaps a couple of them saw it as being, you know, we're taking a cheap option rather than employing an Australian accountant. But I don't think that's the perception anymore. I think there's been a pretty high level of acceptance.
Krishnaraj is here for 3 months. I think he's been here for 2 months so far. He's got another month to go. What made you decide to bring him to the Gold Coast?
We thought that he would benefit by coming here and experiencing the way we work, how our files are set up, why we're requiring him to do certain things in a certain way. And we thought it would benefit us as well, because by having him here we can actually work directly. It has made a lot of difference with communication and understanding, and also getting to know the sort of work we can actually give him. Just throwing everything at him and he's doing fine.
Have there been any cultural or communication issues to address?
Yeah, there were a few initially. He's involved with a homestay situation, and the lady whose house he's living in hasn't experienced an Indian homestay. She's had people from different parts of the world. Also, little things within the office. We needed to know that Chris would be doing things a certain way. He wouldn't understand that that that's not the way we do it here. So there needed to be a bit of cross-cultural education,
Yes.
which we managed to achieve, and since then I think we're all much more comfortable with it.
What's the benefit to the company of having him here at Robina for a period of time?
If we continue and build a team through BOSS, then we see Chris as being supervising and managing others. So, I mean, that's more cost effective too. You can bring other people in to do the compliance work at a lower cost. So Chris can be more expensive, but other people can be cheaper, so you have an average cost that still fits for us.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to other companies who are thinking of taking up the BOSS in resourcing option?
I'd say certainly talk to BOSS about it. Talk to other people who've gone through the experience. Don't go in with any preconceived ideas. Be prepared to just consider it as being employing somebody who's working in another office. Treat them as you would anybody that you have in your own office.
For the benefit of other firms contemplating the BOSS in resourcing option, can you perhaps give it a little bit of a scorecard, Anne? Can you perhaps tell me the best thing about the service and the worst thing about the service?
The best thing, I think it dispelled a lot of misconceptions, I think. We tend to be a little bit arrogant in Australia about our position in the world. It has been a very positive experience. I guess a lot of us have had people ring us from call centres in the middle of dinner, and that's how we consider to be all Indians. They just work in call centres and call us in the middle of dinner. But it's been a very good experience being involved professionally with somebody who is in the same profession as we are from another country.
And the worst thing about the service?
The worst thing was having to sort out our systems, but I guess that was an internal thing, and I think we're comfortable now that we've got them in place and that they'll work okay for us.
And that's actually a benefit to the company.
It has been.
Forces you to
It
get
has
things
been.
under control,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Our research tells us that it's mindsets that are the main barrier to people taking up this option rather than more tangible barriers. And what do you think are the main barriers for companies who are thinking of taking up BOSS in resourcing?
I think we're probably generally a very conservative profession, and we're concerned about our clients' perceptions of having their work being sent to India, if you like. You've got to get over the idea of something being sent. It's not. It's just somebody working in the office, but working from an external place. I mean, we can all work from home now. We have the technology to work from home and to, go into our server here. It's pretty much the same sort of situation.
Client perceptions is often an issue for companies who are thinking of doing it. How did you deal with client perceptions?
We are still dealing with it. We are going to be contacting our clients. We haven't decided how we're actually going to do that, but certainly part of what we'll do going forward in the new tax season with engagement letters, there'll be something in our engagement letter that actually that refers to the process and that it possibly will be happening with their work. If we have clients who object strongly, then that's fine, that's their choice. But we'll try and educate people in that respect. I think as a profession we need to educate our clients anyway.
Have you had any feedback from clients so far?
No, not yet.
No.
If you were going to do this in resourcing all over again, what would you do differently?
It's a bit hard to say because we've got our systems in place now, so I think